Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of recreating the iOS 8 Spotlight search. So in this portion, we're going to create our animations to close the search. And in the first one, we made it so that you could open it, and everything worked the exact way it would need to. So in this one, we're going to be able to reset it. So now we can make a loop and just continually open it and close it, open and close it. So let's get started. Okay, so what we had set in the first one is that we have this, we have these two layers, these two draggers, and they are what sets off our animations and our movements. So we have this top one, which works as a scrim. It's completely transparent initially, and then when we drag dragger 1, that moves, and then dragger 2 picks up and fades in to about 25%. This is what we're going to be using to close this search and reset it. So what we need to do first is come in and add a tap interaction to it. We've already got a drag interaction, so now let's add a tap. And what we're going to do first is just go through and make everything reset when we tap on this draggable layer. So one thing we can do is just start with this one. So let's go into our animations. Let's add a fade animation. And so we initially called dragger 1 drag 1 so that we can keep these in track. We're going to call this one drag 2. So we'll just call this fade out tap drag 2. This is basically when we tap drag 2. And we'll just tell it to go to 0, and we're going to use a 0.2 second duration for this. So it fades out. And then we also want this to move up. So since it's moving down with dragger 1, we need to be able to reset it and move this up. So let's add a move animation to this. Call it move up drag 2. This is when we tap it. So let's add tap it into this. And we're going to just tell it to move up to 0, its top to 0, and we'll leave that 0.2 second duration. Now we'll come back to this. We're going to reset this all with the drag as well, but now we've got this reset, that scrim reset. Okay, so now let's come into our layers. What we'll do is we'll just start with the keyboard. We'll add a move animation here. Let's move down, tap, drag 2. Based off of tapping. We want its top to go to the bottom of the screen, which is 667. We'll leave that 0.2 second duration. Then we can come into our apps. We'll start with our bottom apps. Add a fade to all of these. Come up to this top one. Okay, so we'll rename this to fade out tap 2. That's fine. Based off dragger 2's tap. And we want this one to fade out first since it's the top. So we'll have it go to 0, set the duration to 1 second, no delay. So that'll go out. And then we'll come into the second one. And we want this one to fade out just as quickly, but we're going to wait until the third version is done. So we'll set that to 2, make a duration of 0.1 and a delay of 0.1, so that'll happen as soon as the top one is done. And then we can make fade in appear, or we want this one to fade in. We'll call this fade in on tap for 2. And then the same duration and delay as that one. So now that fades in just like that. Cool. Let's do our top apps. It's going to be the same thing. Add a fade animation to all these. Call this fade out tap 2. Set it to 0, delay of 0.1. Go into top apps 2, fade out tap 2. Face off dragger 2's tap, fade to 0. With a duration of 0.1 and delay of 0.1. Then we can come into top apps 1, our base layer. This is going to be a fade in, so I'll call this fade in tap 2. Go up to 100. Then a delay of 0.1 and a duration of 0.1. Cool. Now the background and then the search bar. So same thing. Same thing goes for these backgrounds. 3 fades. Start with number 3. So dragger 2's tap. 0. Duration of 0.1, no delay. Rename this. Fade out tap 2. Face off dragger 2's tap. Fade to 0. Duration of 0.1, delay of 0.1. Then we actually don't need the fade for this because I forgot we left these on. So now if I do that, cool. Okay, so we need to make our apps move back into position and then our search bar back into the position. So we'll come up to this top apps top group to add a move. Let's move up, tap 2. Based off dragger 2's tap. Just have it go back up to 0. We'll just leave that 0.2 second duration. And then we'll do the exact same thing for the search since they move at the same speed. Add a move animation. Move up, tap 2. Up to 0, just like that. So now if I set this, oops, bottom. We want the bottom to go up to 0. There we go. There, it resets. Now if that's good enough for you, you can leave there. But if you want to recreate this the exact way that it works, we also need to make it so that we can drag this up. So we have this dragger that's, I can see I can move this up. We want to set everything to go up if I start to drag as well. Now the way that it works on search is there doesn't really seem to be a duration. It's like you don't drag up 50 pixels before it starts to move. It's just if you start to drag, it almost instantly goes up. So that'll make things a little bit easier for us. And we just need to add a few move animations based off of when we start to drag this dragger. So first, let's just come up to the dragger. Let's add a move. Rename this move up drag 2. I guess that'll work. It's the last one. It's okay. Base this off dragger 2's drag start. Tell it to go up to 0. 0.2 second duration is fine. We'll go and start with our apps. We're just to do the same thing. 3 more fade animations, just like we did before, but these are going to be based off of the drag. So we'll call this fade out drag 2. So drag start, it's based off of dragger 2's drag start, fade to 0, 0.1 second delay or duration. For the second one, for apps 2, fade out drag 2. Based off dragger 2's drag start, go to 0, 0.1 second duration, 0.1 second delay. And then for bottom apps 1, fade out drag 2. Dragger 2's drag start, This is actually going to be fade in. So it goes up to 100. 0.1 second duration, 0.1 second delay. Let's do the same thing for top amps 3, 2, and 1. Add fades to all of them. We'll use the same values. Zero, 0.1 second. And it's important that we title these. When you start to get a bunch of animations, you want to keep them titled just to keep them in track, especially if you want to come back and look later and like, oh, how did I do that? This will help you separate that rather than just having a bunch of fades and drags and having to open them up and look at what you did. You can just, the title really will help. So remember, all of the apps or backgrounds version 1, those are all fade-ins. And they're fading in at the same time as the version 2 is fading out, so you get a smoother blur. So fade in to 100%. Then we can do the same thing for the backgrounds. Let's add fade to all these. Again, we don't need a fade on background 1. Alright, so this is fade out drag 2. Fade to 0, 0.1. Okay, so now if we start to drag, this just clears right up. So now we need to move the keyboard, the spotlight search, and make our apps move up. So while we're here in top apps, let's add another move animation. Let's move up drag 2. Dragger 2's drag start, top up to 0, leave that 0.2 second duration. Let's come up to the keyboard, add a move animation to that. Move down, drag 2. Just have its top move down to 667 off the screen. And then same for the search bar. Add a move animation to that. Move up, drag 2. So dragger 2's drag start. Make sure its bottom goes up to 0. So we've got that. And then we just need to make our scrim go out. We need to make dragger 2 get out of here. So we'll add one more fade animation. So just like we have it fade out if we tap on it, now we'll have this fade out if we drag it as well. So have it go to 0. 0.2 second delay is fine. I believe that's what we're using, yep. So now if I do this, I can drag it, or I can tap it, and it all resets. If we want to get into the details, we can set this cursor. What we can do is have this fade out. We can add 2 fade animations. Let's call this fade. Tap 2, fade, drag 2. So make this tap, we'll just tell it to go to 0 after 0.2 seconds. And then if we drag this, drag start, tell it to go to 0 after 0.2 seconds. Now our cursor should start up again every time. Cool. So that's it for recreating the iOS 8 Spotlight search. I think that we made a pretty good replication of it, and that it wasn't too terribly difficult to make. I hope that you learned something here that you can apply into your own projects. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.